So Donald Trump and, well, the Republicans, more importantly, managed yesterday to avoid absolute, complete, and utter chaos. I'd been telling you, watch for what happens on the 3rd in America, because of it was going to be the revoting in of the Speaker of the House. And luckily, well, maybe unfortunately in this case, because like I say, covering that chaos, that would have been fun. But by no means does this make Mike Johnson safe. We'll get into that in a moment. So remember, you have, of course, to vote the Speaker in on the 3rd. And there was a lot of sign prior to this that a lot of the MAGA Republicans, a lot of the, pro-Trump Republicans were like, we hate Johnson now. We want him gone. But Trump has, I think, sent a call down the line. He doesn't want any chaos happening. Because, as we said, if chaos were to happen on the 3rd, this means it could delay the certification of the vote on the 6th, which could potentially mean Donald Trump then doesn't get inaugurated on the 20th. So I think that they were very, very well aware of that themselves, and that they didn't want to cause this chaos. At least not yet. Let's at least wait until Trump gets in. Then we can start causing chaos. Then we can get rid of Mike Johnson. Because I'll tell you now, I do not think Mike Johnson will be Speaker of the House by the end of this year. I really do not think he will be Speaker of the House by the end of this year. I think he'll be gone. Purely because MAGA and those Republicans absolutely hate and despise him beyond all reasonable measures. Absolutely hate and despise him. So there is no reason to keep him around too much longer once Trump gets in. And I think when you have the next big budget fight in March, all I'm going to say is I think we'll be seeing more fireworks like we just saw a couple of months ago. And I think they might use that opportunity to get rid of Mike Johnson. Because if anything that you saw yesterday, and an incredible picture that was taken from the floor, shows you just how much power Trump actually has over the Congress and how much of an interest he can take. And more importantly, as we also said, what about all those threats from Elon Musk? Because I'll tell you now, I do not think Mike Johnson will be in power by 2025. I think there are plans to get a pro-MAGA guy in as Speaker of the House. And I think Mike Johnson's time could be up very, very quickly, sooner rather than later. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, we're going to cover what happened on the floor because there was a lot of buzz that happened, and Mike Johnson barely crossed the line on this. So before we get more into covering this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and of course the subscribe button. Down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can well buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then into this. So this one is from the BBC. What one picture tells us about Trump's power in Congress. I don't know if you can see that picture there. That's, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene. But more importantly, look who she's on the phone to. That is Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles is the incoming chief of staff for Donald Trump. That goes to show you how almost, even though he wasn't there physically, Trump was pretty much in that room. Very, very much paying interest what was going on. Because like I said, if that vote had gone wrong on the 3rd, means delaying certification on the 6th, which means Trump wouldn't get inaugurated on the 20th. So yeah, definitely paying a lot of attention to this one. So Shortly after, of course, Mike Johnson appeared to have come up 2 votes shy of retaining the speakership of the House of Representatives on Friday. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a loyal Trump ally and firebrand Republican Congresswoman from Georgia, stood in the middle of the House chamber, intently speaking on a mobile phone. And although she covered the device with her hand, a sharp photographer from Reuters news agency, Evelyn Hoxton, captured the name of the person on the other end of the conversation: the incoming White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. It was a tangible sign of the enormous interest President-elect Trump was taking in this vote. Trump had enthusiastically endorsed Johnson to be the Speaker for the incoming session of Congress earlier this week. And defeat in the first round of balloting would have been an embarrassment. It would have been a massive embarrassment for that. I can tell you that now. But I will tell you now, the fact that he was only 2 votes shy shows if he doesn't play ball, if he doesn't do what Donald Trump says, they'll take him out. Absolutely. They will take him out. No problem. And I think I am not willing to put money on it yet, but I do not think Johnson will be Speaker of the House by the end of 2025. Behind the scenes, however, wheels were now furiously turning, setting up a chaotic interlude in the House after Johnson now had initially appeared to head off at least a temporary defeat. At one point, Johnson even walked out of the chamber, followed by 2 men who had opposed him, Ralph Norman and from North Carolina and Keith Self of Texas. Meanwhile, other members of the House and their families milled about and chatted, waiting now to see what happened next. When Johnson ultimately turned, he was all smiles. Trump himself had made direct appeals to Norman and Self about Johnson via the speakerphone conversation. Republican sources told the news outlets, including Politico. But because the vote had not been officially declared to be closed, Norman and Self were able to switch their votes to Louisiana, putting him in just the 218 mark, nearly just necessary to retain the Speaker's gavel. From Kentucky Congressman Thomas Malassie was, of course, the only lone Republican holdout. Both Norman and Self later told reporters that after the vote, that they had spoken to Trump during the course of the day. Norman said that the conversation he had with Trump twice on Friday, first during a 7-minute phone call with fellow Republican Nancy McKay, handed him the phone, and the president-elect was on the other line. The second was a longer 15-minute call that included Norman, Johnson, and of course Self, saying without confirming the exact timing, saying Trump was exactly right when he told me Mike is the only one who has the likability factor, Norman said. Is he really that likable? Is he really that likable? Every MAGA Republican hates Johnson. They hate him. They despise him. I don't think he's, like I say, if he doesn't play ball, he's gone. Like he is gone on this. He went on course to describe Trump as enthusiastic about the Trump's trifecta in Washington, control, of course, the House, state, and the presidency. I said, Mr. President, I agree with you. I'm hoping that Mike has got the oomph to pull this off. Self also said that, again, you notice that. Has he got the oomph to pull it off? Saying that if he doesn't perform, if he doesn't do what they want, he's gone. He himself also said he spoke with Trump several times on Friday, saying we had a decision about the entire process, said at the conversation with the president-elect. Ultimately, embarrassment was, of course, avoided, even if Trump publicly appeared to be more focused on other things. In the midst of the voting, as the names of the House members walked in alphabetical order, the president-elect was now complaining on social media about the possibility of the US flag would be at half staff during his 20th of January inauguration, part of the traditional mourning process following the death of former President Jimmy Carter. Friday afternoon's processing, of course, underscored just how tenuous the Republican majority in the House of Representatives will be over the course of the coming months. And not only that, if you think about it, the Republicans really only have 2 years. And if you look at the polling, there's a lot of buyer's remorse about people voting for Trump. They're now realizing that a lot of the stuff that Trump has said that he's now not going to do, the fact that the whole H-1B visas, people realizing, oh, actually, tariffs are actually going to be bad for us. Yeah. The midterms are not going to be good. They will probably lose either the Senate or the House, if not probably both. Again, American system, not 100% sure how it works. But yeah, they will lose one of those two things. And at that point, Trump will be a lame duck. Like I say, he's only got really 2 years. And those 2 years, I think, given the chaos, the infighting and stuff we've seen, are going to end up being paralyzed by infighting, chaos, and division. So it is not all, as I've said before, kumbaya singing it around the campfire, because they're all waiting to pounce. So besides, of course, these 3 initial Republican votes against Johnson, another 5 hardline conservatives who have objected to the compromise Johnson has made with Democrats in the past, delaying casting their ballots during the initial roll call. While they were ultimately relented, it was very obviously a shot across the speaker's bow. So no one's happy with him. Yeah, the likability factor. Yeah, not going to take a lot of Republicans to get rid of him. So if he doesn't perform the way they want him to, he's gone. I don't think he lasts 2025. So after the vote, the House Freedom Caucus, that is, of course, the MAGA crazies, some of whom, of course, were among the most temporary at least holdouts, released a statement explaining that they ultimately backed Johnson because of their support for Trump. He said, "We did this despite our sincerest reservations of the speaker's track record over the past 15 months, they wrote. So, yeah, avoid the embarrassment, let Trump get in, and then we can remove him. Like, they will remove him later down the line. It's inevitable because they don't like him. For now, at least the party holds a 219 over 215 edge over the Democrats. And that would shrink by 2 if Congresswoman Elise Steinfeld of New York and Michael Waltz of Florida fill administration jobs Trump has offered them. It would, of course, be months until special elections determine their replacements. That means that Trump will have to hold his entire House Republican membership together if he wants to pass key pieces of legislation agenda early in his presidency, including hardline immigration reforms, new tariffs, and tax and spending cuts. And as Friday demonstrated, this could be a very tall task. Yeah, I think that is going to be the case. Because not all the Republicans are for a lot of this crazy stuff that Trump wants to do. Like, they are not for it. They have already signaled, we are only really prepared to go about halfway with you on some of this stuff. We're not prepared to go the full distance. So we will see. It might be, shall we say, peace today, but there are wars coming tomorrow for the Republicans. And that is absolutely sure. No one likes Johnson, at least not anymore. So I don't think he's going to last 2025. I think you're going to see sort of more chaos from the Republicans. I think the more you see Trump want to go and follow through on some of this crazy stuff, I think it's going to massively hurt him. Later on down the line, I think you're going to see the Republican caucuses start civil warring against each other. You're going to see them certainly get rid of Johnson at some point. It is going to get interesting very, very quickly, I think, because March is when the next budget comes due, and we saw the last brouhaha about the last budget. What's it going to be like this time? Because as you saw there, doesn't take a lot of Republicans to disagree with Trump, and it just kills it all. And with those potential, again, those new picks he's made, because now they're going to the administration, they can't be sort of serve in Congress. So now there's going to be special elections. With the outpouring against Trump, against the H-1B visas, and this, the Democrats are already trying to make waves to win those elections, because oh boy, all of a sudden Republicans might have been in control, but these, one or two special elections, all of a sudden their control slips further and further away if they lose them. And then it only takes maybe one Republican to go, yeah, I'm not going to do this. Yeah, I'm not going to be, I'm going to throw Trump under the bus. This is an absolutely awful idea. That's all it takes. Chaos. All I'm going to say is the next 4 years in America are going to be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. But as always, let me know what you think down below. Like I say, there's the links down below as well. The Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee, the YouTube thank you button, the Pony Club, all down below. Hit the like, hit the share button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.